So Sid Nutter is going to provide us with some really good advice on nutrition and how to keep weight off and have a longer, happy life. Thank you, Sid. Take it away.
Hi, good morning. Hey, just to make sure, are you guys seeing my full screen or are you seeing my notes?
We're seeing the full screen.
Okay, great. Well, hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope the weather's cooperating there in North Carolina today for you. Welcome to my little speech here called 3 Food Mistakes You're Making, which lead to painful joints, extra pounds, and chronic everyday ailments. I'm very glad to present this to you today because there's a lot of helpful information here. So let me ask you, have you ever started a diet on Monday only to fall off the wagon by Friday? Or have you ever lost a few pounds only to gain them all back again? Trust me when I say that you are not alone if this describes you. That's because typical diets do not work. The long-term success rate for typical diets is about 3%. So that means that 97% of people that are following one of today's diets are not going to have long-term success. So it's probably not your fault if you fall into this category because gaining weight and suffering with declining health is the body's normal response to eating abnormal foods. And that's all the abnormal foods that are being promoted by most of today's diet plans. The good news is it does not have to be this way for you. There's a lot you can do about it. So if you've been beating yourself up as to why you can't keep the weight off or improve your health, it simply boils down to the wrong diet plans and the wrong foods, and your body is just responding accordingly. So today I'd like to share 3 steps with you which will allow you to finally shed the weight that's been bugging you for years, to reduce or stop taking meds every day, which aren't fixing the underlying problems anyway, and to relieve the pain in your joints, your muscles, and your gut, and even your head if you're having headaches, and to do all of this without feeling overwhelmed or stressed. Also, to get the energy back that you used to have in your younger days. So the first step I want to share is how to shed 1 to 3 pounds a week and keep it off without counting calories or points or eating tiny portions. So this is where we're going to talk about the difference between calorie counting and calorie density. Calorie counting is not the way to go because it takes time, effort, and a lot of willpower. Plus, it's often very inaccurate. And it's not sustainable for the long haul because it often results in decreased portions, right? We have to eat tiny portions in order to maintain a certain calorie number. And that's not going to fill us up. And who wants to be hungry? Nobody wants to be hungry, which is why this type of thing is not sustainable. Calorie density, on the other hand, refers to the number of calories in any given weight of food, typically a pound of food. So foods that are high in calorie density have a large number of calories per pound, whereas foods low in calorie density have fewer number of calories. So here's how certain foods weigh in when we look at the calories per pound. Fruits and veggies, potatoes, whole grains, beans, legumes, and whole grain pasta are between 100 and 600 calories per pound. Avocados, 750. Animal foods, ice cream, refined carbs, and white flours between 1,000 and 1,400. Cheese and sugar are 1,700 calories per pound. Junk food and chips up to 2,300. Nuts and seeds plus nut butters like peanut butter are 2,800 calories per pound. Butter, 3,200, and oils are 4,000 calories per pound. Both the American Cancer Institute and the World Cancer Research Fund recommend that we lower the average calorie density of our diet to 567 calories per pound. That allows us to eat freely of all those starches and veggies and fruits and whole grains and beans and legumes. And of course, that's without the addition of added sugars and added fats. Now, some of those higher calorie dense foods on the right there, like the avocados and the nuts and seeds and nut butters, those can still be used sparingly because that average is spread out over the day. So it's usually okay to use those foods as a condiment. For example, include a few slices of avocado in your burrito or toss a few walnuts in your oatmeal. But those higher calorie dense foods are also much higher in fat. So if you're trying to accelerate your weight loss or reverse a chronic condition, those higher fat plant foods are best eliminated or at least greatly reduced. Here's an example of how foods that are low in calorie density allow us to fill our stomachs with a lot more food, but for a lot fewer calories. So this is what 500 calories looks like again in a stomach. So we see oil on the left there, followed by 500 calories of cheese, and then meat, then potatoes, rice, and beans, and then fruits and veggies. So keep in mind that your stomach is about the size of your fist. And it's important that we don't starve ourselves or stuff ourselves because our stomachs can expand to accommodate those large portions when we overeat. So right now, some of you might be wondering, wait a second, are you suggesting that we eat carbs like potatoes and rice? And I know you've probably been told that all carbs are evil, but here's the deal. Not all carbs are created equal. There's a big difference between healthy complex carbs and the unhealthy refined carbs. The healthy complex carbs are the whole plant foods that we've been talking about. And the refined carbs are those processed foods that are made with stripped and refined flours, refined sugars, added fats, lots of sodium too, like pastries, white breads, snack cakes, cookies, soda pop, and chips. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to all the refined carbs that are out there. So for optimal weight and health, we want to focus on the complex carbs while avoiding the junk food refined carbs. Well, what happens when we don't eat complex carbs? First, it's important to know that we are designed to function on complex carbs. From our brain function to our gut health, to weight control, to energy levels, because complex carbs are the body's preferred and best source of fuel and energy. So when we avoid eating complex carbs, like the foods that we've been listing here, unfortunately, we set ourselves up for constipation, fatigue, brain fog, muscle aches, high cholesterol, hypertension, and so much more. And maybe some of you are already dealing with those issues. And if so, we can do something about it. Well, how does this apply to you? How does calorie density apply to you? Well, if you're a busy mom with kids who love to snack, have healthy options on hand, like fruit kebabs or pumpkin muffins or hummus and veggies or roasted potato wedges. These are great snacks for the whole family too, not just the kiddos. What about if you're the decision maker on what's for dinner? Then make starch the center of the meals. Starches are those potatoes, corn, rice, beans, legumes. Recipes like barbecued lentil loaf with mashed potatoes and gravy. These are all starch-based. Cheesy broccoli soup. Yeah, there's ways to make cheesy soups without using any dairy, just by using plant foods. There's plant-based burgers too, like mushroom and wild rice burgers or Mexican black bean burgers. There's African peanut stew, black bean lentil taco soup, which is awesome, and easy lasagna roll-ups. There's hearty chilies with cornbread, chickpea salad sandwiches for the cooler when you're traveling, and stuffed peppers. There are thousands of delicious recipes out there. But there's no need to be overwhelmed by that because you just need to find 6 or 8 to get started. If you're new to this way of eating, find 6 or 8 to get started and then build your recipe repertoire from there. Let's go on to step number 2 now, which is why ditching this one highly processed food allows you to accelerate your weight loss and improve your health. Okay, remember that calorie density chart that we just talked about? Look at the left-hand column there and let's talk about those extracted oils. Because oils are the most calorically dense food on the planet, weighing in at 4,000 calories per pound. And I'm always hesitant to call oil a food because really all that oils are the extracted fat from a food. So did you know that that's all oils are, is the pure liquid fat, which has been extracted or pressed from olives or vegetables, nuts or seeds or coconuts or fish. And again, they weigh in at 4,000 calories per pound. They're highly refined products which have been stripped of their nutrition. And again, all oils, it doesn't matter what type of oil, is 100% pure liquid fat. That means 1 tablespoon contains 120 calories and 14 grams of fat. That's a whole lot of fat. And that's not unusual to get 3 tablespoons a day in the American diet because of all the oil in our processed food and bakery items and salad dressings and restaurant foods. That can lead to 3 extra pounds a month without adding any bulk to the food. We're basically just coating our food with fat. Now, not only are oils huge weight busters, but they are health busters as well, because these oils, extracted added oils, they damage the protective endothelial lining on the inside of our arteries. And once that lining gets damaged, it paves the way for plaque formation to start. Oils also are known to impair our circulation. They're highly inflammatory, and they contribute to blood clotting as much as animal fats do. So we want to get all the added oils out of our diet. We also want to watch out for all the other things that are made with oils and added fats, foods that are high in fat, like margarine, which is typically made with all oils, or butter, which is 100% fat. Cheese is 70%. Sour cream is 63% fat. And then there's high fat dressings like ranch, which is 75% fat. It's very hard to lose weight and keep it off when these high fat products are allowed to remain in the diet. So we need to learn how to purchase and prepare foods without these added oils and fats. So when people say, well, I've got to have some olive oil, I say toss some whole olives then in your food, on your pizza or in your salad. That way you're getting the olive oil the way it's meant to be eaten, as a whole food in conjunction with all the other nutrients in the olive, so that your body knows what to do with it. Now, what happens, I've met many people who once thought, like I did, we once thought that consuming oils was really good for us. But we now know through the work of thousands of doctors and researchers and cardiologists that consuming pure oils is anything but good for us. Not only are they extremely fattening, of course, because they're pure fat, but they are one of the most highly inflammatory foods we could eat. And there's a direct correlation between inflammation and today's chronic diseases. So let me tell you a little bit about this dietary inflammatory index, which was created back in 2009 by America's top cancer researchers. And they studied the inflammatory components of food and how those foods, such as oil, lead to chronic inflammation. And they reported that chronic inflammation equates to lower function of the kidneys, lungs, liver, and higher risks of cardiovascular disease, impaired memory, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, arthritis, weight gain, and many types of cancer, with a 75% increased odds of cancer. That statistic floors me. I mean, chronic inflammation, when we're eating inflammatory foods, we're going to increase our odds of getting cancer greatly. That's why it's really important to heed this information about oils and other inflammatory foods, so that 5, 10, or 20 years down the road, we can avoid these major problems. So what about if you regularly eat out or socialize at restaurants? Because restaurant foods are loaded with oils and fats, and it does not matter if it's a fast food restaurant or a gourmet restaurant. So if you regularly eat out, check the menu for potatoes, rice, beans, salads, veggie soups, pastas, portobello mushroom sandwiches, and healthy side dishes. Oftentimes you can build a really great meal just from the side dish on the menu. And then ask about those hidden oils too, especially in things like dressings and sauces. You might even want to bring a small container of oil-free dressing along with you. And I do that all the time when we eat out, which is rare these days. And then ask how the food is prepared. Request that your food be steamed, baked, or grilled over a dry skillet. And of course, you want to avoid anything that's fried or sauteed in oils. Restaurants are really often willing to work with you, especially if you call ahead and tell them that you're following a special diet for health reasons, because you would be. How does this apply if you're the grocery shopper of the house? Well, read your labels and avoid any products which contain added oils. So the picture here is for Earth Balance butter, which is a vegan butter. I used to buy this all the time before I knew any better. But if you check the ingredient list, you'll notice that almost the entire product is comprised of oils. Look there at the first ingredient is oil blend, which is palm fruit oil, soybean oil, canola oil, and olive oil. And this product is 100% fat. I can tell that because in the nutrition facts box there, it says the calories are 80 and the calories from fat are 80. That means this butter product is 100% fat. What about if you typically use oils when you cook, like I used to do all the time? Well, to saute your veggies like carrots and onions and celery and peppers, heat up a dry skillet on high heat and then add your veggies and keep flipping them with simply adding tiny amounts of water or veggie broth as needed, just enough liquid to prevent the sticking. You don't want to add too much liquid or the veggies will steam instead of saute. So keep flipping those veggies and adding tiny amounts of liquid until you get the desired tenderness that you want. For your baked goods, simply replace oil with unsweetened applesauce. And it's a 1-for-1 replacement. So if a recipe calls for a 1/3 cup of oil, you would just use a 1/3 cup of unsweetened applesauce instead. And you know those little 6-pack containers of applesauce? One of those is about a 1/3 of a cup. Now for step number 3, how you can reduce or eliminate meds with a single food component that most people lack. And the answer to that is to eat more fiber. Yeah, that's what it is. So let's take this little fun quiz here to test your fiber knowledge. Which of these foods do you think contains the most fiber? And please note my little warning there to be careful because this could be a trick question. So we have 4-ounce servings there of milk or pork chops or salmon or 1 egg, or it's a trick question. So which do you think of those foods has the most fiber, or do you think it's a trick? Well, if you guess trick, you'd be a winner because animal-based foods like milk, pork chops, salmon, and eggs don't contain any fiber. There's 0 grams of fiber in animal-based foods. Fiber is only found in plant foods, and it is crucial to your health. I cannot stress that enough. Fiber is crucial to your health, and it's only found in plant foods. So the healthiest people on earth are getting at least 45 grams of fiber a day. And it's not unusual for whole food plant-based eaters to be getting 50, 60, or even more grams of health-promoting fiber every day. Because again, plant foods are the only source of fiber. Here's a sad statistic. Less than 3% of Americans are getting the recommended daily allowance of about 32 grams of fiber a day. In fact, most Americans are getting about half of that, maybe 15 to 17 grams a day. So when we stick with a fiberless diet that's filled with beef and chicken and fish and hot dogs and cheese and yogurt, we have an increased risk of polyps and diverticulitis, constipation, higher cholesterol and blood sugar levels, an increased risk of diabetes, heart disease, metabolic syndrome, obesity, plus an increased cancer risk too, because fiber carries all that excess estrogen and other hormones out of our system. Those are hormones that are going to stay in our system if we don't have fiber to help carry them out. So I'm sharing all of these troubling facts with you today, not because I'm trying to scare you or discourage you, because I want you to be informed, right? I didn't know these things either years ago. I knew that eating fruits and veggies was good for me, but I didn't realize just how bad the other things were. So I feel I'd be doing you a disservice if I did not at least share these facts with you, because how else can you make informed decisions? After all, this is the quality of your life that we're talking about, right? And where you're going to spend your life as you age. This all matters. Everything you're eating today matters toward that. So diet plays a huge part in the quality of life now and later. So let's see, let's move on now. How does this principle of fiber apply to you? Well, if you're a person who eats breakfast on the run, Swap out those fiberless pastries and Pop-Tarts and McMuffin sandwiches with healthy oat bran muffins or blueberry pancakes or oatmeal topped with all the good toppings. How about if your sweet tooth comes to life after dinner like mine does? Well, choose the chocolate pumpkin muffin with a cup of tea. Those muffins are full of fiber. Or enjoy a dish of raw apple crumble. Or you could purchase a Yonana machine, which is really cool. You can get those on Amazon. And that machine converts frozen fruit into soft serve dessert. So you can make banana splits or cherry or mango or strawberry ice cream, whatever fruit you wish, because it's all fruit-based and it's all super healthy. But you could also make these desserts in a high-powered blender or food processor too. You would not need to purchase a Yonana machine. It just, that gives it a great texture. So if you've been consuming fiberless foods like meats, chicken, fish, and dairy products, add fiber back in with a variety of plant foods by preparing recipes that are packed with fiber, plus protein and calcium. And we don't have time to get into that today, but there's no need to worry about protein and calcium on a whole food plant-based diet because plants are the source of protein and calcium. Did you know that? Did you know that that's where cows get calcium is because they're eating plants? Here's a few more recipes you could try that are high in fiber. Sloppy Joes. This one here is made with lentils. Cheesy Mexican tortilla bake. Stir fries, a big variety of those. Mushroom pot pie on a cornbread crust. Peanut noodles with veggies. Plant-based macaroni and cheese. Carrot cake muffins, sundaes and sorbets. Chocolate mousse. The foods on a whole food plant-based diet are anything but bland and boring, and that's a common misconception that's out there. There's absolutely no deprivation, true, and I can tell you that because I grew up in an Italian house with a lot of rich, delicious foods, and I can assure you that the foods on this way of eating are just as delicious. Well, what about if you're pre-diabetic or you have diabetes? Would a high carb plan like this be safe for you? Maybe you're wondering that. And the answer is absolutely, because the whole food plant-based diet has been shown to lower A1C levels 3 times greater than the typical diet prescribed by the American Diabetes Association. That's why people who are eating this way are often very able to totally reverse their type 2 diabetes. Even the ADA agrees on their website that plant-based diets are safe, even for people who already have diabetes. So I promised I would teach you 3 things today. First was how to shed 1 to 3 pounds a week and keep it off without counting calories or points or eating tiny portions. And that's where we talked about the difference between calorie counting and calorie density. Secondly, why ditching this one highly processed food allows you to accelerate your weight loss and improve your health. And that's where we talked about the importance of ditching those extracted oils. And thirdly, how you could reduce or eliminate medications with a single food component that most people lack. And that's where we talked about the importance of fiber. And the cool thing is that all 3 of these things are part of the same simple nutrition plan. So what does this mean for you? Well, no matter how far you veered off the path or what you're currently eating, you always have the option to choose a much better path, which is the proven way and the well-documented way back to normal weight and good health. And that is a whole food, plant-based, no added oil diet. This is the most anti-inflammatory diet available. And I teach a whole class at that at our local college. Plus, this is the only way of eating, get this, that's proven capable of reversing even advanced stages of our #1 killer, heart disease. So that right there should be very worthy of our attention because everybody has been affected by heart disease to some degree in their family, or they know someone who has, right? It's our #1 killer. This is the only way of eating that can prevent that and actually reverse it. So when you have all of these benefits of whole food plant-based nutrition working in your favor, such as anti-inflammatory foods, high fiber foods packed with protein and calcium, permanent weight loss, reversing your chronic ailments, reducing your inflammation and your joint pain, and greatly lessening your cancer risk, When all that's going on for you, you'll be confident again about your future, especially when it comes to your health. And your immune system is going to be stronger too, to ward off those diseases and viruses, because who knows what's coming down the pike as far as viruses are concerned. You'll have clearer thinking, no more brain fog, improved mobility to get up and down the stairs, better mood, better sleep, better gut health. You'll achieve normal weight and feel good in your clothes again. You'll regain your energy and you'll feel better than you have in years. And you get all of this while truly enjoying your food. So I always tell people that life is too short to spend the last 10 or 20 years dealing with all these preventable chronic diseases or having health issues be the main focus of your life. And I see that so often in my own family even. So again, life is short. And so beware of what you're eating today, because the you 5 years from now is going to thank the you of today if you start to eat healthy today. So if any of this resonates with you, then I have a deal for you. I invite you to join me, have a free session with me, a free phone call where you can get all your questions answered just by giving me a call. And I promise there are absolutely no strings attached. This is just part of my coaching mission. I offer these complimentary calls to help people to develop a plan to get off the diet roller coaster and improve their quality of life. And I've been doing this now for over 25 years. I'm a longtime health coach, and I know what works and what does not work when it comes to diet plans. And I have never seen this plan not work when people fully implement it. That's why I'm passionate about sharing it with people. So again, don't worry, this is not a sales pitch in disguise at all. There's nothing to buy if you give me a call. I would never pressure you at all. That is simply not my nature anyway. But there is a catch, because this offer is not for everyone. You have to be open to whole food, plant-based eating, right? If you're going to give me a call, this is the criteria. You must be mentally ready to change your food choices, and you must be willing to shop and cook differently too. And basically, you have to be determined to succeed with this, because all of these things are necessary, or I really can't help anyone who hasn't reached the point of being ready to change, right? You've probably discovered that in your life as well. You can't help people unless they're really ready and willing to change. But if you can say yes to all of that, then I am happy to help you with a free 45-minute strategy call. Just go to my website, which is sidnotter.com/session. And while you're there, you'll be asked to complete a few questions about yourself and what you're looking to accomplish. What are you struggling with? That will help me put something together for you that I feel would help you solve the biggest challenges that you're facing right now. So again, go to sidnotter.com/session to book a call, or just go to my website, sidnotter.com. Because while you're there, you could see the full-length prezo of what you've just seen here today. This is the condensed version, what you're seeing here. But the full-length presentation is on my website, along with a free 21-day meal plan. There's a free dessert smoothie handout. And you could even take a look at my book while you're there too, in case that interests you. It's called the Plan A Diet, combining whole food, plant-based nutrition with the timeless wisdom of Scripture. So that's my presentation today, the 3 food mistakes that people are making, which has to do with calorie counting, eating extracted oils, and not eating enough fiber. I hope this was beneficial for you.
Hey, Sid.
And thank you for your time. Are there any questions for me today?
Yeah, this is Mike. Can you hear me, Sid?
Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah, we're taking questions. Everybody think about some questions for Sid, and raise your hand if you have one. We'll take your question. She'll answer it live right here. So if you have any right now, just raise your hand. But I want to ask you something, Sid. What do you think, because you've been talking about eating and how it's going to have a positive impact on your health. What kind of a percentage of health issues do you think are affected by food? If you can give me a number.
Yeah, well, the experts are saying up to 90%. Some are saying 70 to 80% of all of our health ailments are directly related to our diet. Some say up to 90%. And we do know this, Mike, that diet is the #1 cause of our premature death and our disability. So that right there is a mouthful, right? Diet is the #1 cause of that.
Well,
Those two
so
things.
yeah, why do you, I guess this is just a more insightful thing. Why do you think that we haven't addressed this issue straight on? You know, if you're talking about like almost everybody's health problem could be solved by following the advice you're giving, what are the barriers there?
Oh my gosh, there's so many aspects to that, starting with the medical system, down to the advertising, down to people's food addictions. I mean, there's many aspects of that involved. But I think once people are awakened to the issue of food, more are willing to change their diet. And that's what we're seeing now taking place in our country. You know, more people are looking for plant-based options, and that's a great thing.
Right. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Just raise your hand, please. We have another 15. Well, we did have 15. We have 14 minutes now. So if you got a question, just raise your hand. Make sure I can see you out there. And also, I wanted to comment on something else that you said there, Sid, that you were talking about, you know, someone being ready, right? And I guess what I've heard and what I've seen too is sometimes people have to be willing to give up what's making them sick. Because if you're saying that almost everyone's illnesses are the result of food, they have to be willing to give that up. So that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And most people, sometimes they just want to lose weight, but other times it's a health scare, and that will send them into looking for alternative food options. But yeah, you have to be ready to do that. I mean, and what's going to motivate you? You have to think of your motivators. Why do you want to do this? Right now, I'm watching 2 relatives suffer with stroke, you know, following strokes, and it's hell for them. I surely don't want to go down that path. So that's a big motivator for me. So you have to determine what's going to motivate you. Is it your health? Is it your weight? Do you want to walk your child down the aisle when they get married? You know, you have to think of these things. Figure out your motivators and figure out what's limiting you in achieving the goals that you set for yourself. Those are 2 big factors, because a lot of times there are barriers to change. In my book, I have a chapter called The 12 Big Barriers to Change, which kind of addresses the 12 biggest ones that I've observed in my practice. And we could do a whole talk on that, Mike. As you know, I think we already have at one point.
Yeah, so there's so many things. It's complicated, just like life, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so everybody has questions for Sid, please raise your hand. This is your opportunity to talk with an expert on plant-based eating, basically, and the benefits of eating plant-based. Because I mean, I really think, Sid, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's only a matter of time till everybody eats plant-based. Because if what you're saying is true, and I believe it to be true, that, you know, people will have to, I know change happens slowly, right? That's probably the biggest barrier. Just the fact that change doesn't happen right away. So I'm just glad that you're more like a pioneer here in this movement and helping to get the word out.
Well, thanks, Mike. Yeah, some people do take a long transition time. Don't do what I did. It took me years to transition fully, because I started off eating a junk food vegan diet. And then I went to started junk food vegetarian to junk food vegan, and then finally to whole food plant-based. The people, though, that jump in overnight often have the best success with this. I've discovered that, and even Dr. Campbell agrees with that too. So going in slowly is a good thing, but you have to have an end date on the calendar. Like, by this date, I'm going to be completely whole food plant-based, because if you don't have that end point in mind, it's really easy to slip back into old habits. So if you do transition, though, I even offer a transition course to help people do that. Right. Make it like a 5 or 6 week transition period. You know, don't do what I did, which took me several years to transition. I wish I'd have done it sooner.
Yeah, I was the same way. Years.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess as long as there's positive progress too. I mean, I like what you're saying. You should just kind of go in. I'm not going to say, well, I'll say it cold turkey. It's not a vegan expression, but cold tofurkey. You know, you just do it that way. That's probably the best way to do it. And you have, there's support out there. Because I think when you and I transitioned, I'm guessing, I can't remember if I was talking, it was at least years ago, right? I mean, for me, it was years ago. I didn't know anybody that was plant-based or anybody that was vegan. So it was very difficult. And now there's so many more support systems like what you offer.
Yeah, that's right. It started for me 30 years ago, Mike. The thing is too, that when I say you could go in with this overnight, jump in with both feet, that doesn't mean not being prepared to do that. You do have to prepare with your menu plan. What are you going to start making on day one? So it's not just like clear the house out of the bad food and then wake up the next morning and say, what am I going to eat now?
Yeah.
That's not a good plan.
Sorry. I have a question for Sid. Hi, Sid. It's Denise Young. We had dinner at your house and I was really impressed. I wish I could have people over for dinner, but I hate to cook. And I like to eat healthy. So what do you recommend that could really cut down on cooking prep time if I don't like to peel, chop, or cook anything over a stove?
I would say a whole grain pasta dish would be the best option, especially if the company coming over is not plant-based. Everybody likes whole grain pasta. You can buy oil-free marinara sauce at Aldi, organic oil-free marinara for under $2 a jar. Top it with some roasted veggies, or if you want to buy a bag of steamer veggies, and roast those, something really simple with some spice. That would be a good place to start. Maybe a side salad and Dr. McDougall's garlic bread. So there you've got a really good meal that's pretty simple.
Oh yeah, that sounds really good. So do you have anything that helps you peel and chop veggies? Or do you do this all by hand?
Yeah, I do it by hand, and I know sometimes it can be laborious. So I often tell people you can buy veggies pre-chopped, right, in the produce section. If you're really in a bind and you do not want to chop, you can buy cut up peppers, cut up butternut squash, all that stuff. Of course, it's a little extra cost. Or sometimes in the freezer section, you can even find frozen onions already pre-chopped, or peppers or whatever. But it is a thing. If you have somebody in the kitchen helping you just to peel and chop, that's half the battle. I try to always get my husband involved to see if he'll be my sous chef and do some chopping. But I like to batch cook. So I like to do it all at once for the entire week. So that means a lot of chopping if you're cooking all the recipes for an entire week.
I have another question for you, Sid. Thank you for that answer.
Hi, Sid.
Hey.
Our question is, what do you suggest for a person that has a busy schedule that's trying to live a healthier life? What are your suggestions?
I'm sorry, the microphone was kind of squeaking and I didn't catch everything there. Somebody that's busy?
Yes, ma'am.
So how would you do this if you lead a busy lifestyle? Is that what you're asking? I didn't quite catch the whole question.
Yes, if you're leading a busy lifestyle, how do you make a plant-based diet work?
How do you make a plant-based diet work with a busier lifestyle?
Okay, I think what I heard, because there might be wind, is there wind there? It kind of blocked some things out, but you're asking how to adopt a whole food plant-based diet if you're busy, if you lead a busy lifestyle?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Well, it comes down to pre-planning, right? So batch cooking, again, what are you going to have for breakfast every day? Is it going to be oatmeal or pancakes? Make a big batch of oatmeal that you can have every day. Plan out your menu. Here's my trick. So on one night a week, I figured this week I'm going to have an Italian dish, a Mexican dish, an Asian dish, and a burger recipe. So that's going to be my 4 varieties for the week. And if I have to spend 2 or 3 hours in the kitchen on a Saturday morning or a weeknight to make all of that, I'm willing to do that. So I'm set for the entire week. Now, if you really don't even have time to do that, I would say choose recipes from websites like shaneandsimple.com. They are very simple recipes. Oftentimes it's just opening cans and putting them in the Instant Pot. Make a big batch of potatoes. You can use potatoes in many different recipes, or a big batch of rice where you could make stuffed peppers or burritos. So batch cooking is key. If you really don't have time to cook at all, though, there are places online where you can order food, like Mama Says. That's a website that has compliant, whole food, plant-based, no added oil entrees that you can order. Plant Pure Nation, I believe, is another one. So seek out the places online that will send you prepackaged foods, You can also buy things at a health food store like McDougall soups, where you just add water. Look for those type of prepackaged convenience foods that are in line with what we're going to eat, though. But you have to really read the ingredient list to know if something is compliant. Sometimes too, here's another tip. You can buy a potato bag on Amazon. It's called a potato bag. Microwave your sweet potatoes or your Yukon Gold potatoes for 5 minutes, and they're nice and fluffy and done. And top it with a healthy soup that you've purchased, from a store, a healthy soup. Probably not going to find those in the typical grocery stores. Or make a really easy black bean soup. In my book, I've got a whole section just on easy recipes like that. In fact, if you email me after the show today, I will send you that chapter with the very easy recipes in it.
And I have one more question. It appears that you follow the SOS free. Is that what it is? Sugar, oil, salt free?
Not necessarily. I tend to follow Dr. McDougall's advice, where if you need to add a little salt or sugar to the top of your food, so for your taste buds to register that, that's fine. We just don't want to add salt at the stove. We want to add salt at the table. That way we're taking in a lot less sodium. Now, sugar, I like to sweeten things with dates and fruit. So I am against refined sugar, of course, but not against adding a little honey or maple syrup to recipes when it's called for. In fact, on my website, there's a free thing called 10 free dessert smoothies, and everything there is just sweetened with dates and fruit. I'm definitely anti-oil, though, where you said SOS free, definitely oil free. There's just too much information about why we should not be eating extracted oils at all. So avoid those oils.
Yes, good information. Thank you. That answered her question. Okay, well, thank you so much, Sid. A round of applause for Sid Notter.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. Thank you, Sid.
You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.